Hello and welcome to this week's Madaxeman podcast. This is an unusual one. I'm not in it. This is all you're going to hear from me all in the next 2 hours, really. The usual gang are here covering nearly all the features. There is no teaching Timmy about Napoleon, thank the Lord, so that music takes a miss this week. But there is Andy's quiz, there's the conversations about painting, there's games people have discussed, there's what they're doing next week. There's a usual old load of old rubbish as well, even without me. So sit back, enjoy, and I'll hand you over to our host, G'day Simon, as he will pick up this week's podcast and take on the baton duties of corralling the cats. Enjoy the podcast.
This means war.
G'day everybody, welcome to another Mad Axeman podcast. This is podcast number 16. We're still in lockdown, so for some of us it's day 112 or 13 I think it is. So there's just 6 of us today. Tim's been allowed
you've
out.
Got a bit of a cold there, mate. Your voice seemed a bit different.
Yeah,
Sounds like you've been deported.
I'd gone to get my eyes tested. I went for a quick drive and I seem to have...
This is what happens with going to Cornwall. Your voice changes.
So
You become
Tim's...
Australian.
Absolutely. Streath, mate. So Tim's currently on holidays. He's been allowed out for a few days, and just the 6 of us.
Excellent.
We've got
Evening.
everyone else by myself. Everyone
Hello,
else.
viewer. Boo.
It's just the one person who presses the button 120 times each week.
Because they don't understand how it works.
Guys, settle down, mate. Guys, it's hard. This is quite difficult for Simon to do. I'm sure Tim will edit that bit out.
Oh yeah, thank you. So we're here for week 16. We've got a few exciting things to talk about. So we're going to kick off with the thing we always seem to forget: answers to the online preamble to the questions we put onto the online postings about the podcast. So Adam, kicking off,
Like,
how many toothbrushes do you reckon helped the British Army of the Rhine ward off a Warpack invasion?
I don't. You're the toothbrush specialist. You tell me.
I guess the more important question: were they was it a Colgate toothbrush or a Sainsbury's one?
It was a British Army of the Rhine issued toothbrush, I expect, with special horse bristles.
In those days.
What in official army green?
Yeah, but
Well-
as any Scotty knows, they'd actually be half toothbrushes because you cut off the handle so it fits in better in the kit, reduces weight very slightly.
Or is that because they use the handle for for a spoon for making very strong cups of tea?
Yeah, but this is British Army of the Rhine, so they've got lots of space just to put it in the tanks and stuff, so they didn't cut anything down.
Yeah, I'm talking about infantry, foot infantry, not motorised and not tankers.
Yeah, but the toothbrush is too technical for the infantry.
Do they not have toothbrush holders in the tanks? I thought they might have had something like that by then.
No, they have water boilers in the tanks.
Ah, right.
Yeah, because you need to, while you're waiting for your tank to turn on, you need to make a cup of tea.
Yeah, they've had those since World War II.
God.
Well, they used to brew up in World War II, but that was a different type of brewing up.
No Yorkshire tea there.
Yep.
Nope.
Mr. Saunders, since you're a resident in Harrow, what are the current statistics for wearing underpants in Harrow?
Well, I'll admit I've turned the washing machine on twice in the last 10 days. One was to do the bedding, so that was not a non-underwear related event. But the second one was the one was, and that was 2 pairs of underwear because I'm just living in my loungewear at the moment. I'm living in pajamas apart from when I go out to the shop twice a week.
Guys, Dave, I've now got images burned in my brain that I just will never. It's like I could wash my brain with bleach and I wouldn't be better. Just please stop, mate.
You're asking the questions. It's a fact.
I think I can help. I think I can help here because my office is in Harrow. I had to go into the office very early one day last week just to pick up a file and leave another file back. And I can promise you it wasn't a commando raid.
I think I'm going to need therapy after that.
Go from bad to worse, really, isn't it?
Before?
Yes.
Gotta be careful what you ask for.
Yeah. Now, Adam, as the resident Malifaux expert, does a steam-powered organ need more or less wheels? And yes, you can take that in whichever way you envisage it.
That does sound like a Captain Flashheart joke, doesn't it? Like steam-powered organ. It's not steam-powered, baby. It's nuclear-powered. I don't know. It's just like every man should provide as many wheels for their organ as they feel is necessary.
Getting worse.
That does lead on to some of the miniatures that Tamsin was painting last week. The fatties from Judge Dredd.
Belly wheels, yes.
Sorry, belly wheels, yeah. So, and one that's just come out recently, we were having a bit of an online debate in the wargaming mob about various new mottos for the club. So the Central London motto is "It smacks of incontinence." Well, it should have been incompetence, but we couldn't even get that right. And as we discussed about people's hairdos and hairstyles, we seem to have gone into this badger view. So, Peter, is a badger onesie an appropriate something appropriate to wear to a wargaming competition, either local or international?
I think it would be best suited for an international one, because turning up to the airport with a load of badger onesies would just be perfect. And then when you finally get to the event and you walk in and there's a load of Spanish, French there, and we turn up as the British contingent in a load of badger onesies, they'll go, them, and you'll get this sort of like knowing look where they'll smile and just go, yes, they've been drinking already, but they're slow. They're not from Belgium. So, yeah, I think it'd be perfect. The only thing you'd have to worry about is sort of like making sure it's not too baggy so you don't knock any miniatures flying as you're moving stuff around the table.
So you want to wear a skin-tight badger onesie?
I wouldn't say skin-tight.
Yeah,
I'd say just around the arms. Like you have those croupiers where they've got the bands on the arms just to away. See, that'd be perfect.
I can't help thinking that a badger onesie at the Worlds next year in Greece in June might be a bit uncomfortable.
Well, if you go the Harrow way, it'd be very comfortable with nothing underneath it.
Badger commando unit, yeah.
I could just imagine all of us rocking up to Heathrow or whichever airport. Maybe by then it might be Southend is the only airport left in this side of England. Just imagine 6 or 7 of us, all of us coming with a bag of toy soldiers and a onesie badger uniform, just going through security and being quietly escorted to a private room to say, how much have you been drinking and what's this white powder in your bag?
And why aren't you a stag do? Yeah.
I think I call the limit there.
Right. Too much for Dave. Dear God, we're doing something good.
Right, so moving on to what we've painted this week.
Before we go there, I've got one other point arising from what we discussed last week in teaching Tim about Napoleonics. Well, actually 2. One is I realised that in the recording I said that La Coruña was in northeast Spain, and of course it's in northwest Spain. And secondly, I'm a bit worried you might have given Tim the impression that one of the key things of the Napoleonic Wars was Sean Bean running around saying bastard. And in fact, as the Sharp series show, he does actually use other words like bugger, damn, and bloody. But he does become more eloquent, and by the time of Waterloo, he's able to wax quite lyrical about the Prince of Orange making a mess of things and sending British troops to their death. And here's a short clip which does this.
What an idiot. What a dirty little Dutch buffle-brained bastard from his pot crown up his royal pop stars. A blood-will twat. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Right, well, hopefully that doesn't get us served with a
injunction.
Yeah. If we can post that, I'm sure Tim will post that in the podcast notes.
Suitable link to it.
One thing that I think really sweet, Andy, is you're a bit worried that we've given Tim a bit of a wrong impression about the Napoleonic Wars. That horse is well and truly bolted, mate. This stable door.
That ship sailed a long time ago, yeah.
This means war. This means war.
Right, so let's have a chat about what we can painting now. Adam, I can see
Hello.
you've got a fistful of plastic sprues in your hand, which look
In.
very exciting. Are they Victrix?
They are indeed, but I'll talk about these for next week.
Oh, okay.
I just want to, because this is what I'm starting. I just want to share my excitement that I've finished my next batch of 12 Mongols. So I've just I've got to do an order for 4 sort of like well-armored ones in a general, and that will be my Saga Mongoli army done, which is always quite exciting.
Always good.
And I also did my Cybermen, which was fantastic to paint, because I wanted to do them because I wanted to practice using the gunmetal silver undercoat from Army Painter just to see how it went on. So that was useful. But for painting figures, the entire technique I used was spray them silver. Then I thought spray them gunmetal. Then I thought, shall I highlight the edges silver, sort of like bright silver to put it out? But there was like loads of edges, so I just thought, no, I can't be bothered. So I sprayed them gunmetal, washed them in Games Workshop Known oil, put in a black dot for each eye, and that was it. That's just like brilliant painting. It took me at least 15 minutes to sort of like do 12 Cybermen in their little like robot pet things.
Cool.
Do the command ones? Are they not gold rather than silver?
No, that's Daleks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I haven't watched Doctor Who for a while.
I painted a bit of gold on one, so I could say, "Oh, that's the boss one."
Oh, that's helpful.
Other than that, and I didn't even sort of like use a spray paint for that, and so it was just like, yeah, no, that's
your artistic one.
So I got two batches of toy soldier painting done in a week, which is storming.
It's a bit of a shame you didn't use the gold-painted gold spray paint as the base coat, because you could have asked Peter for some expertise on how to recover that.
Yeah, well, he's heard it all now. He's moved on. He's going to use green and then gold or something. It's got to be a bit different.
And were you able to play Doctor Who with your boys?
Well, it's a boy and a girl.
Sorry, boy and a girl.
So, don't let Matilda hear you say that, because you'll be in trouble. No, because I've got to paint up the other stuff. But I've got in a game of Dungeon Saga with them, because Dungeon Saga, there's sort of like, there's about 7 scenarios all linked, and we did the second to last one. So now we're sort of like, so that was fun, and we're just going to be moving on to the last final huge one.
Cool.
So that's all exciting.
Cool stuff.
So Adam, the Sea Devils appear in your game.
What, Doctor Who?
Yeah, the Sea Devils were 1970s John Pertwee era.
Well, it's a Warlord Games thing, so I don't know. You quite possibly could buy them. They've done loads of different stuff. I don't know whether they've done Sea Devils. Sorry?
I got some I won as a prize a while back. And I painted them up for the fun of it. And I kept putting them on the bring and buy sale at Warfare as a joke. And no one's ever bought them. So if I can find them, they're yours.
Thank you very much.
I thought I painted them quite nicely as well. So
yeah, I know, but sort of like Sea Devils from first era Doctor Who. No,
they're the Warlords ones.
Yeah, I know. But
it's just the whole series, isn't it? Because it's are you a Tom Baker Doctor Who or anything else really?
They were good because they came out of the sea at Bournemouth.
Did they?
No, I think it was Brighton actually, but it looked like it's that sort of thing. It was a pebble beach. Let's put it that way.
If it was a rubbish beach, it was Brighton.
Yeah, exactly.
Dungeon Saga's fun though.
Yeah, no, Dungeon Saga's a lot of fun because when we got it, I painted up all the different bits in it, sort of like so it looks quite good. And I've done a couple of time lapse videos with it because sort of like messing around with time lapse with my kids, sort of like we've done a few time lapse. So it's like we've got the skeletons chasing the sort of like heroes down the corridors, which was quite a fun way of spending some time in lockdown, pretending that I was teaching them stuff.
Because that Dungeon Saga, that's the Dungeon Bash game, isn't it? Where you got the bunch of scenarios.
Yeah, it's Mantic. It's a Mantic version of Hero Quest.
Okay. Yep.
And again, it's a well designed game. So you get all the figures, you get sort of like
dwarves,
cardboard.
Isn't it?
Sorry,
the one with the dwarves, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's like because the heroes are just they're sort of like the dwarf, the barbarian, the elf, and the magic user. and you get sort of like to lay out tiles, and it's all quite good quality. The kids love it. It's a good introduction into that sort of game. I dare say that I'll be playing Dungeons and Dragons with them in the not too distant future, and they'll know what they're doing because of that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I started mine off with that. Went on to Pathfinder.
On Podbean, when you're on Podbean, when it sees our thing come up, there's quite a few rival podcasts come up, and quite a few of them are D&D podcasts. So we're being associated with that.
Well, to normal people, we basically are, aren't we? I mean, to us, it's sort of like completely different. Yeah. But to normal people, we're just sort of like nerds. It's like we're just sort of like one up from Train Spotters. But D&D, board games, wargaming, it's all kind of the same.
We're definitely one above Train Spotters because we paint our toys. We just don't collect them. We paint and buy and model.
Not only do we paint, but we use them as well.
Yeah, and occasionally scratch build them.
Yeah, I mean, my wife likes jewellery, and I remember she bought a load of Pandora, those bracelets and charms and stuff. And I say, you spend all this money on this metal, and you can't even play games with it.
Yeah, that went down well.
Yeah. Okay, so Andy, when did you get out of hospital after saying that?
No, when were you able to add to your lead collection after that?
Right, Tamsin, what's on your painting schedule or painting, or what are you painting up to now?
What am I painting up at the moment? Right now, nothing. I'm prepping some figures. I've finished a load of terrain in last week. Last week I mentioned that I was painting up a load of pavement pieces, and they're done. I've also painted a couple of ladders, a bridge, and some futuristic cars to go with my Judge Dredd collection.
Those I saw on your blog. Those cars.
You put some on Madaxeman or something, didn't you?
They're the ones from the Anton City
workshop. Yeah.
The one you can never pronounce. Because they were their really cool Kickstarter range, weren't they?
I don't know if I think they might have been kickstarted a while ago. I think they did Kickstarter a load of their design for Infinity stuff. Yeah, I mean, very nice cars to paint. The cars a bit of a bugger to. I had to prep first because there was a lot of excess resin on the undersides.
Okay.
Which had to be ground down. So that took a while.
It's one of those good things you can do when you're watching TV. You can just sit there with a file or whatever and just calmly grind down.
Yeah.
But if it's on the underside,
it's quite aggressively on the taxi cabs. But yeah, they came out very nicely.
Yeah, I saw the fluoro colours and the bright reds and blues. They look really spectacular. I can definitely see them on a sci-fi table. We're just looking around for the Infinity big power mech or something running around.
Can I open up the gallery? Show you guys.
They look really good. Lots of different colours and shapes and all that. I like the more upright smart car. For the modern city.
Well.
You really needed a number plate there, Tamsin, saying, how good is my driving or something.
Yeah, that's something I might add in the future. I mean, the taxis were meant to come with decals, so I bought it, but they weren't in. But I've got another order in with antenosities, and they're going to put the decals in with that once they're up and running in the new venue.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm always wary of going near their website because every time I go near them, my credit card runs screaming, going, "Please don't hurt me that much again."
Yeah, they do have some very nice stuff. I think their MDF buildings would be great for things like Judge Dredd, but because it's pre-painted, the cost just drives it up.
Yeah,
it's for the same price. We can get 2-3 times as many buildings from somewhere else.
So moving on, Mr. Webb.
Hello.
Let me guess, Austrians.
Yes, I've basically been painting like mad over the weekend, and I've got the second slab of Austrians. Is a absolute bucket load of
Austrians.
I've got Genzers, Grenadiers.
You've gone for a bit of heresy there. I see there's white and blue pants.
Blue pants means they're Hungarians.
Not necessarily,
No?
because the Gensers
Okay.
had blue pants as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, but they had. Yeah, of course they did. Some of them did. Yeah. They had the red coats, so the russet coloured coats. Yeah.
I also read that they had white coats as well, up until 1809, and then some of them didn't change till 1812.
I didn't know that.
Finally got one thing.
I'm not an expert.
But
on
no,
the
you're
Austrian
right
army,
about
but-
the blue for the Hungarians mostly. So I've got my nice Hungarian grenadiers.
Yeah.
I like that, Andy.
I couldn't quite see that, but yeah, okay, right. They
and some nice Jaegers and some Landwehr, to soak up the French masses that are going to roll over them.
No, the Jaegers were quite decent troops. Stick them in a barn or something, they fight quite well.
Yeah, the Landwehr though, they're pretty and also pretty useless.
Yeah, but they do look good with their nice cute hats and all that. It's sit in that forest, they don't go anywhere. Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm just finishing off the generals, and that'll be my Austrians done. I've got some other bits and pieces that I'll get around to at some point, but apart from doing the basing, I've finished my Austrian army. So that'll be the Spanish Knights next.
Yeah.
So are these the Spanish Knights? Are these the impetuous elephant knights?
Absolutely. Got to have impetuous elephant knights from Navarre.
Carrying artillery.
Absolutely. One under each arm. They'll be totally unbeatable, apart from in every game I play them in.
They just got 35 points of base, that's all.
And they're going to only roll a 1.
Yeah, guaranteed.
So moving on from elephants with wearing armor, Andy, what have you been painting?
I've been painting late Roman legionaries, guys that look a bit like this. Linen trousers, white t-shirt, chainmail armor. I find them fairly easy to paint. I've actually done over half of 24 figures in just under a week, so I reckon I'll finish them in about 1 or 2 more sessions of painting.
So and
then it's Norman, Breton cavalry as allies for the Normans. Then I've kind of run out of 15mm serious things to paint, and I might start painting ships, things like the Cruel Seas motor torpedo boats and stuff like that.
If you're starting to run out of 15mm, it's time to start doing an order, because you have to allow a couple of weeks of lead time with the lockdown. So by the time you finish your ships have arrived, you'll have another kilo of lead arriving.
Yeah, but I've also got loads of ships to paint. I've got the entire Italian surface fleet from World War II in 1/3000 scale and a load of aircraft. So that's not going to be a problem.
Before or after they got sunk?
Well, that's the point. I could just paint them blue, then that would work, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just paint some sea base, Mediterranean coloured sea bases. I in the harbour at Taranto.
Yeah. What colour is waterlogged? What would you recommend, Tamsin, to make a ship look waterlogged, paint wise?
Waterlogged or underwater?
Probably under the water then.
Oh, various blue greys probably. If you're talking Italian to Taranto, it's going to be Mediterranean, so you want a reasonably bright, fairly bright blue.
Right.
Okay.
Have you got charioteers for them then as well, Andy? Because they actually sank more ships than the surface fleet, didn't they?
No, well, 1/3000 scale. I mean, I think they're a bit difficult to paint if you can see the things.
I thought you had it for Cruel Seas.
No, in Cruel Seas, I've got the British and Germans, just the starter set. Yeah. Now, this is 1/3000, battleships and cruisers and stuff like that. They're 2 different things, the Cruel Seas and the Italian fleet.
Proper tiny scale then.
Yeah, that's right.
I like how he says he's just got the starter fleet at the moment.
That's still about 30 ships.
Just a few to keep you going.
Yeah, something like that.
Anything else for you, Andy?
Not the immediate future. I mean, that's it for the moment.
Dave, you're the last one so far.
Well, I'm actually sitting here painting Ottoman artillery, the actual guns as we speak.
They're cute models, aren't they? Those big bombardy things.
The bombards sort of thing. Hold on, I'll stick one in the picture. There you go.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at those.
Yeah,
Proper
I'm
bombard.
doing the bronze on the guns.
They look like they ought to be on a warship, don't they?
Yeah, they're good fun. I was going to say, does anybody know how to get gambions? I mean, I need something to
Gambions?
Yeah, I need something 15mm I can use as the...
Timecast?
Bowie, do they do to them?
Can they be used?
They do.
Online? Right, I'll have a look.
Doesn't Donington do them?
Do they? Cool. because I need something which will fit onto the 50mm by 40mm base, so I can use them as field fortifications.
What you could do is
Timecast certainly do ones that work for 40mm bases.
Brilliant. That's what
Yep.
I'm after.
another thing you could do, Dave, is what I did. You get, I don't know where I got them from, little kind of almost like chopsticks, but little round bits of bamboo. You just chop them very short and stick them that way round.
Okay. Well, I've got quite a few sort of like on fortifications.
That's right. That's more for palisades, though, Andy.
Yeah, I've got sort of like 100 Years' War English stakes which I can use, but I was thinking having something pretty and specifically to that sort of Ottoman field defences sort of thing.
When I did my ones, I actually based the fortifications onto the artillery base, because even if you whether they're fortified or not, I just think from a model it's quite nice, and being it's a nice 40mm square, it's like meh. You
can kind of do a diorama out of it, yeah.
Yeah, and it's quite neat. And one of the things I like with ADLG is if you're behind fortifications and you wheel, the fortifications are assumed to maneuver with you. So that's quite helpful.
That's something I'm definitely looking at, doing both of that sort of thing, so I can have field fortifications and on the base as well. So, but anyway, on progress is so the Ottomans, I think another week or so they're going to be finished, and they're pretty and finished. So I've actually been adding to the lead mounting because I'm running short. So before Forged in Battle, Worn Empires Kickstarter came to an end, I've ordered another 150 quid's worth off them.
So what have you bought?
So as long as
that's another 2 armies, isn't it?
It's a whole Frankish army, which is reasonable, because I mean basically I think the whole Frankish army, and that's like 10, 12, maybe 15 bases of heavy foot impetuous, which is going to be fun to paint.
Oh yeah.
I think that comes in about 80 quid, which is a bargain. And then I bought some other stuff for Andy. Andy wanted some camels, and Tim wanted some Carolingians in civvy helmets. So we got some of those for Tim. But then that's the end of their Kickstarter. So that finished last week. So.
But did you manage to get them at the discounted price then?
Oh, I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
I'm not worried if you didn't. But...
gone through. We'll see. They did last time, which is good, but we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they're pretty decent, yeah.
Dave, I just want to quote back to you. Something you said a couple of weeks ago, or it might have been a month, I don't know. Something along the lines of, no, I've done all the 15mm painting I'm going to do now. I've got it all. I'm just not going to do any more. So that's it, me done, sorted. I've just made an order for £150 worth of 15mm figures that I'm going to paint. It's good to see that you've got that, I don't know, that self-discipline. Yeah.
Well, it was about...
He's also going to get his Egyptian chariots, remember?
Those have been boarded as well. That's the other, that was 20, 30 quid's worth of chariots from Fighting 15s.
Yeah.
To complete that lot. And then
Adam, that was the whole back thing. It was only one army.
I think it's just good that Dave is being in this new modern environment that we work in at this very agile time. He's reacting with spare capacity, just painting more armies up.
I'm just adding to the economy and doing what we've been asked to. Mind you, I was thinking if we got VAT removed in the next 3 months, that'd be interesting, because they're talking about removing VAT to stimulate the economy.
Oh,
that would make lead a lot cheaper.
Oh no, that could get very expensive.
And it could mean lead would be very cheap to import as well if there's no VAT from abroad. Yeah, all of a sudden those Ledger Heroica figures, you start looking at them going, ooh, hello. I don't really need another Turkish army, but they are pretty. Yeah.
Well, as Samuel Johnson would have said if he were a war gamer, when a man tires of metal, he tires of life. And obviously ladies as well in the case of Tamsin. So, but to Adam's point, I was going to say, I'm now an impetuous foot army was necessary, but I'm now reaching the point where I've got to start to think about a third Bisley filing cabinet to put it all in, and that's good. That's the major investment. It's not even measuring your figures in number of armies; it's measuring figures in number of Bisley filing cabinets now. Basically it's the drawers. Everything goes in the size of the drawers.
Yeah, that's sorry, Dave. You've only got 2 Bisleys at the moment. Come on, mate. You're not even trying.
I know. I don't think... Well, when I was talking to other people, I thought you're only a serious war gamer if you've got those map chests. You know, sort of old vintage.
No.
If you go on eBay and put map chest in, they're sort of like
yeah.
drawings.
Oh, they're great for board games.
Architectural plan chests. Yeah.
Yes, I know the ones. Yeah.
And you know, so Phil Powell, I think he had 2 map chests, and I think one entire drawer was sort of like 3 foot by 4 foot, and it was just filled with cataphracts.
Wow.
And it was just a little bit.
Just
silly.
in case you're unsure, yeah. I discovered when I was sorting out my cupboard last week, and I still haven't found that other army, that I had shed loads of Greek medium spearmen, and I keep forgetting I had them, and then just buying a few more and bring and buying stuff.
They're just multiplying in the cupboard.
Yeah, they're probably procreating like mad or something. I don't know. They're all different
yeah.
styles.
Things to do, nothing else to do.
Well, yeah, I suppose this is true.
So, Dave, anything else?
You don't have to feed them, I suppose.
True. Dave, anything else on your painting table?
No, so the Ottomans are progressing. So there's like 8 bases of heavy cavalry being done with flags and all that sort of. They just need to be based. Janissary's done. Light horse are done. Artillery's getting done.
That's good progress. It's really good.
I think that at the end of the day, this is going to be 4 armies I'll have painted in lockdown. The thing now is to want to get out there and play with the damn thing.
Yeah.
True.
So your heavy cavalry, is that have they got spears or have they got bows?
So what I've done is there's 6 bases of Sipahi and 2 bases of Sipahi of the port.
Yeah.
So the Sipahi of the port are on armoured horses.
I can't see.
And then what I've done is, so the Khurasane figures are, you basically sort of get 12 different figures. There's an incredible sort of like depth of figures. So what I've done is I've based the bowmen and the swordsmen on bases together, so I can use them as medium cavalry. And then the ones with lances I can use as heavy cavalry, and if I, and vice versa if I need to split up, so I can make it visible which are heavy cavalry and which are medium cavalry. Which then leaves the question that I'll probably need another 6 bases to really complete it and make sure it's all obvious as you know what it is.
Yeah, it's always good to have a few more options.
Yeah, so that's good.
I just wish someone would make different some feudal armies for the tabletop simulator.
Well, you can always use the bases from another army and just rename.
I've tried that. There's nothing really suitable. I mean, I've been invited to play a game on Wednesday where my opponent is using Nicephorian Byzantine.
Yeah.
And the only thing which is contemporaneous, which is on there, is Vikings or Anglo-Saxons, neither of which would do particularly well against Nicephorians, in my view.
There are no Arab armies on there.
I think
you could do feudal Spanish against them.
Well, there aren't any. If there was, for choice, I'd take Normans or something like that. But there's nothing on a horse with a kite shield.
But I mean, if you're going to play Nicephorians, the really sort of like historical thing to play with it would be something like Arab dynasties.
Or
but you could use Nicephorian armies.
Seljuks or something.
Rename the figures. You've got heavy cavalry in there. You've got cavalry bases, and you just rename them and say that's Kurdish heavy cavalry elites.
You could, I suppose you could do, but nothing. But I haven't looked at the Arab army. I think it was the Bedouin army, but I suspect that's mainly camels and from an earlier era.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any Arab conquest type armies in there.
Just use the Nicephorian one and just
rename them,
clone the bases and rename them.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, I might do that.
That's the way to do it. I also bought a wet palette, which I've already made a mess of.
Yay!
Did you get it wet?
Turn it upside down to see if it's waterproof, and it isn't.
So you got it wet.
Yeah, and I've got blue. My wet palette is now blue palette. The blue paint I put onto it is run everywhere. But I'm learning. It's good. That's a new fun bit.
Well, look at the bright side. At least you won't just spoil your underpants.
True.
Please, not back on that again. So I've not really painted too much this week, but I did achieve one of the most useful units that you could possibly have in a medieval army, and then paint a lot of them. I've now painted 8 more medieval levy bases. So I don't know why I don't know why I needed 8 of them, but somehow in one of my bags of random lead, as we all do, I found I had 30 or so levy figures of guys with ladies with pitchforks, hoes, spades, and stuff like that. So they've all been painted up. So I can now choose between
basically angry peasants, essentially.
Yeah. So as some people say, Australians, but otherwise I've got them, and I've got the religious mob. So depending on which army I go for, I can have the different style of levy, which is quite cute. But
What army that you're going to have that has more than, say, 3 or 4 levy, apart from some of the Chinese ones?
I just have different, for when I take them to a competition, I can have different levy for each game.
So you can give them all a run out.
Basically,
so they can
yeah.
all have a look around.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for Adam to say those are rookie numbers.
Sorry?
Just waiting for Adam to say those are rookie numbers.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, so if you painted them up because they were there and you wanted to paint them, fair enough. But if you just wanted a few levy, I've got about 20 medieval levy from the DBM days, which I would have quite happily given you 8, because it would just save room in me drawers, to be honest.
Yeah. It was just one of those things that they've been sitting in my cupboard for, I think a couple of years. I don't know where I acquired them, and just opened the box and went, oh, there you are.
Like, so if you got that many figures, it was probably more than a couple of years. It probably goes back to Fog AM days.
Oh, they're definitely from a Fog AM. I don't know who I bought them from, which brand or whoever they are from, but they're now painted up. They might be on a bring and buy shortly, but they're done.
Do you ever find that once you've painted up some figures that you had in a bag or a drawer or something, that you put them on a base, you think, there we are, I've tidied up, I've streamlined a bit, whereas in fact they actually physically take up more room. But psychologically, you think you've made more room.
It's more of, they do take up more room, but at least they go from unmanaged objects in the bottom of a box to something that's in a nice Bisley tray, and it looks more neat and tidy, so my OCD feels a little bit happier.
Yeah, that's right.
It makes space in your mind to buy more figures.
Yes, because the rule is that pile, the lead mountain, at some point must be reduced, even by a small amount, before you can refill it.
Lead monster must be fed.
Oh, it must be. The one positive side I have had, after my frosting incident of matte varnishing my elephants and my 7 years war hussars, I recovered them.
Hey!
Oh, brilliant.
So did you use the technique Adam described to me?
Baby Sham?
Or
No.
was it the Peter Webb spray ball again subtlety?
No, so I deferred to the expertise of listening to Tamsin, a few painters, and a couple other people, and basically just left them for a week. Just gave up and went crying to a small corner. And today the humidity wasn't too bad, so I chucked them outside. And one of the suggestions was, wait for a nice day of low humidity, matte varnish them again, but as they start to dry, chuck them under a heat lamp, like a normal light bulb. So I've got my painting light. It's not an LED, it's just a normal halogen light. And they just said by the recommendations were, if you heat up the matte varnish, it removes the moisture that's got trapped somewhere inside it. Didn't sound like it would work. And I've got almost all the frosting off. So the only bit of frosting you can see now is between the horse's legs. And let's face it, if you're going to look at that much detail, you need a real hobby.
If that little bit of frosting that's left, you could just put a wash over.
I'm not really fussed anymore, because you look.
I just call it style. It was like it's just an effect you were looking for.
Yeah. But I'm most happy with that. My elephants, all those beautiful new museum Z elephants, have all come up. So I'll get the camera up. So let's see if this comes up.
Oh, yay!
Ah.
Are those
Nice.
the Z figures from whatchamacallit?
Yeah, these are the new Z figures from museums. So because their first generation elephant had this platform that sat on top of their hoodah, and it was a bit flimsy, didn't really fit nicely. And these new ones, they fit nice. The elephant's got like a nice bronze helmet for a good headbutt. The horns have got rings on them. They've got tassels, which is always good, and quite a few different options there. So not that I needed more elephants, but while you were there, I had to buy 7 of them.
Well, they just kept shouting by me, didn't they?
Yeah, well, yeah,
That's what elephants do.
Yeah,
They needed a good home, and you were going to provide it.
definitely. So, Any other wargaming news? Has anyone had a game, played on Tabletop Simulator, bought anything?
I bought some paint.
Yeah, the same here.
Wasn't very exciting, but I bought some paint. I had to buy some what do you call stuff? Brushscape for basing because I was running low on that. So that shows how much stuff I've been painting.
Brushscape, God blimey, that's old school.
Well, I like it.
The field, the coat d'arms one.
Yeah. Makes it nice and textured. Then I just dry brush it grey and bone colour. Then glue the plastic grass onto it.
I think I may have some of that from somewhere from when I began.
Yeah, I think most of us have a bottle of it somewhere in the cupboard, just hiding in a corner. Alrighty. Well, that's the end of the painting news. So for today, we're having a look at the early Achaemenid Persian lists, which Andy and I also then tried on Tabletop Simulator yesterday. So that was quite an interesting challenge to see. Both of us brought our armies, and then we had a good four-hour squabble with much violence and bloodshed. And we even had.
But let's not tell them how it ended until they've given their opinion. So let's see if they can work out which army might have won.
How many pounds did you do in 4 hours?
6.
It was more than 6. It was 6 paired at least 6 paired bounds.
Yeah,
we got war wagons halfway across the table.
We got war wagons nearly dying.
This means war.
So, Andy, this is your army list. Do you want to kick off on your ideas and concepts for
Sure.
the Achaemenid Persians?
Well, I always start off with what's the minimum I have to have of anything? And in this list, you've got to have 3 Persian and Mede cavalry with bow. You have to have at least 2 Sparabara ordinary medium sword mixed bow units, and you have to have at least 1 light cavalry. So, but you can also have the immortals, which for 11 points give you a mixed medium sword bow, which is elite in shooting and ordinary in fighting rather than mediocre. So I thought they were worth having. So my thought processes was to have 1 solid command based on immortals and Sparabara, and then 1 heavy cavalry shooting corps with a few bits added onto it, and then a sort of small ambushy corps to keep the enemy guessing as to what we might get up to. And if you take the Cyrus the Great option, you get a strategist, and you also then get access to other funky stuff, which really be rude not to use, things like scythes, chariots, camels, and war wagons. And I've never used scythes, chariots, and war wagons before, so I thought that might be a laugh. So the first corps is Cyrus and all the fancy toys, plus the immortals and Sparabara. So I've got 2 Sparabara, 3 immortals, 1 war wagon, 2 light infantry units, which in hindsight I might have used a bit better. Then a smelly camel corps, basically, with 2 mediocre medium camels and 1 light bow camel, and the scythe chariot. And part of the thinking was that the war wagon would hold off 1 flank of the infantry, the camels would hold off the other flank of the infantry, and whatever Simon had probably wouldn't be too keen to charge into 3 elite bows and 2 ordinary bows, knowing there were camels lurking on 1 flank to hit him in the flank if he tried. The camels could also lend support to my cavalry corps, and I thought that being camels, they might discombobulate enemy infantry. I've got 2 ordinary LMI bows, 1 in the running round small corps and 1 with the cavalry. And then moving to the cavalry corps, I've got a brilliant commander. I've got 2 elite heavy cavalry bow, 2 ordinary heavy cavalry bow, a cheap Indian cavalry mediocre medium cavalry, a light cavalry, and a LMI bow for shooting support. So that gives me 22 proper units and the scythe chariot and an initiative of 4. I thought that was quite good.
Good initiative.
Initiative of 4.
As a comment, I'd say you've got too many of the mixed bow units to get. I mean, 5 Sparabara. I mean, the Immortals are the machine guns of this army. It's a sort of similar army to the Ottoman army we discussed a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I've taken 3 of them. I've taken the full complement.
Yeah, it's 3. Oh, 3 is the maximum you can have. Boom. Yeah. I think you do want the strategist with the scythe chariots. I'd take both. You can have 2 scythe chariots, can't you?
Yeah, but I'd have to find 3 points from somewhere else.
Yeah, I'd find them because I think if you can have scythe chariots, 2 of them together are really good together, and put the light foot in front of them to protect them.
Yeah, that's what I didn't do. That's what I failed to do. But I know for next time.
The only thing I'd say is, the second command, which is nice because it can go in an ambush, which would be quite fun. It lacks a bit of oomph on there because the only thing there you've got, which is any cop really, is the javelin man.
That's just a dicking around command to sort of keep the enemy guessing as to what it might have.
But the thing is, though, the dicking around command, you haven't got enough that's going to be a threat. You've got enough that it's tempting to go and steamroller it, but he can't get away. It's going to be sort of like hiding in the terrain. But if you've got something that can go in the terrain and terrain worthy, it's going to be stomping that.
I completely agree. I think it needs if you're going to have a small, as we're calling it, dicking around command, it needs to be something with heavy cavalry, elite.
Or something which can easily run away a good distance.
Yeah.
Like light cav.
Light cav, bit of medium cav. But
On the
problem is,
side,
I'd have swapped out a couple in your third command for the second command, and then used all that infantry, and then had one small command with like a medium cavalry, maybe a couple of lights, and then have that infantry in with the heavy cavalry bow. Then you've got a brilliant commander which could actually make use of that. I'd turn the dicking around command to be ordinary included, which you can do with some of the medium cavalry or even heavy cavalry elite.
Yeah, you can do, yeah.
Then you've actually got a little command. You save a few more points, and with a brilliant commander, you'd be able to use the bowmen to great effect to be supporting. So then you could actually have them in the terrain. So you could almost have 2 armies, one which can do terrain plus cavalry. So you can make the most of any terrain that's going on there. So either the bowmen are shooting to keep the other enemy away, or you've got the heavy cavalry shooting and retiring with your bowman there to take advantage of it, because you've got only 1 bowman in the third command.
I've got 2 bowmen. I've got one in the dicking around command, and I've got one in the cavalry command.
Well, that's what I mean. You've only got 1 in the cavalry command. If you'd taken the 1 out of the other one and just did a dicking around, you could have had 2 bowmen. 2 bowmen are a lot better because then you could focus them down onto one item.
Sorry, Andy. Also, I think what Peter meant to say was, what would you do against a line of knight chariots coming at you?
What with the against whom?
Yeah.
Against which command?
Against any of them.
Well, in this period, it'd be more sort of like a line of classical Indian elephants coming at you.
Or elephants, obviously. I was going to say elephants next, but you might, I mean, being slightly more serious, this period, you might still be getting late Bronze Age being whacked up by heavy knight chariots. Have you got anything that can fight them?
Not really, no. Because the only heavy infantry you can get with this army is mediocre heavy spear, and I don't think it's worth having.
Andy, I'm not taking your excuses, mate. If you can't fight knights and you can't fight elephants, I mean, what's the point of the army?
Well,
it's what they had.
It wouldn't be too bad against elephants,
sorry.
because he's got a few javelin.
Your Warwagon could take on a knight. No sensible knight's going to want to charge into a war wagon, is it?
The scythe chariot can do a lot of damage to an elephant.
Oh yeah.
And for 3 points, it can wipe out an elephant very quickly, and it can keep going on and on as well. I go with Pete's point of including a general somewhere. That gets you the next scythe chariot.
Yeah. So what would you put in the second corps then? Would you?
Well, I think
the thinking was possibly send it on a flank march through terrain as a possibility, or hide in an ambush or something.
I think we should have a look at Simon's army and see what's in his army, and then we can comment on what. But I think I'm interested to see who won in the competition between the 2 of you.
Well, have a look at his army, and then you can see what you think.
Actually, just before we go on, the other thing I would say, Andy, is Phil Barker's got a lot to answer for with his early Achaemenid list, allowing the ward wagons and scythe chariots. It's kind of fancy. It's hanging around ever since WRG, whatever edition he first used it in, and it's like usually I would be going with lovely models, got to get them in, but it's I don't know, it's something that annoys me. No, and that's nothing to do with you, obviously.
Well, I've never used an Achaemenid army before. I haven't even got the figures, so this is what came up on the list, and I thought, let's see what we.
Yeah, no, I'm just putting that out. I'm just putting my annoyance out there.
Are they war wagons are fancy for the Persians then?
Yeah.
So Cyrus fought a battle against the Lydians when he was. We're going back to Croesus, and he's turning everything into gold because we did his army earlier on in the podcasts. And there's a battle because I had to look into this. As Adam says, this is where do you get all this sort of weird toys going on? And there's a battle with Cyrus was in. It was almost a siege battle, and Cyrus did use what were siege towers, mobile siege towers in a battle, and had the scythe chariots and all that. So there is sort of some precedent if you believe the ancient sources.
But it was kind of a one-off rather than sort of standard operating procedure.
It was a one-off battle, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, right. Let's look at Simon's list.
So here's my version of the list. So, like I do with many of my armies, I look for what's the shiniest troop possible in the army list, whether it's effective or not, and then build the army around those. So I went for Cyrus as well to get the war wagons and the scythe chariots. I did go for 2 of them, and I split them across 2 commands. So the idea was one command is going to be a very big mounted one. So you had a Sparabara to run around as the medium swordsman bowman to either shoot or hide in a bit of terrain and annoy any light foot coming around the side. Then you had 4 of the heavy cavalry bow, all the elite. So one's the guardsman, the other 3 are just the normal heavy cavalry upgraded. I then went for a bit of fun. I went for the high quality light camel bow mediocre to provide the light horse support. And the idea for them was not really to get into combat, but when the line of the heavy cavalry bow contacted, the light cavalry could then advance to provide support and start disrupting everybody, which is good fun. And I love scythe chariots. I just think they're a stupid idea, and I've got to have more of them. I've done them. I've had stampeding cattle and elephant armies, and any other army I can get them in. I just like the idea of a scythe chariot.
Yeah. There is one slight query, Simon. Was your army legal?
No. So
consistent then.
So I realised I needed the strategist, but there's an easy solution. I can ditch my levy, the levy never even did anything. So then the central command, I had the two immortals, but I had 4 Sparabara, and the idea was you'd have the Sparabara immortal, Sparabara immortal, Sparabara. This nice 4 wide of bow swordsmen who could hopefully join up with the other commands. You have 5 bow advancing up the center of the table just to really annoy anybody. Yes, if a line of cavalry came against it, they're in a world of pain. But it also had a scythe chariot just to really annoy mounted armies. So because people always seem to be a bit wary of a scythe chariot. Then there was a few lightfoot javelmen and a javelman as filler just to wander around. If I had some terrain, I'd throw them in there. And then the other command 3, the idea for this one was purely a blocking command, being that I knew I was going to be playing against Andy's Persians and it'd be a mounted command. I had a feeling the idea was I was going to put both war wagons, and I had one of the Lydian heavy spear mediocre, but also 2 Scythian bowmen as a command with a couple of light horse. So they could basically anchor a flank. Trying to deal with 2 war wagons that have gone into a nice column really slows down some cavalry. Which for the 2, when Andy and I did get close, we both managed to get each war wagon down to 1 point off being destroyed by just bow and war wagon firing. So it's like watching two battleships in a World War II movie just proceed to blow the crap out of each other. Bowmen were shooting each other, and all good fun.
So I'm surprised that neither of you went for. I think Julian did a version of the Persians. I don't know if it's this Persian or the later list, where he had, I think, 30 units. And what he did was actually mix up all three commands. So there was a bit of everything. It was like licorice, all sorts, across the commands, where he'd have everything mixed into everything else. But he took advantage, I think, of the Greeks, because you can have the heavy spear mediocre, and it means you can get an absolute load. I was thinking of suitable adjectives of heavy spearmen mediocre, who just basically suck up a line and would happily march into virtually anything. Meanwhile, you're just overwhelming them with the flank. So quite a lot of the armies in this period, this would actually be quite a large one. Most are sort of like just getting into the 20 mark. So his idea was that you just sort of overwhelm them. Fine, you could lose some dross, but you'd have the heavy spear to just, soak up punishment. And then you can actually surround them and do a load of damage.
I'm guessing that's probably the later version, because the later version you've got a load of real rubbish, and I think without even trying, you end up with about 25 units.
Yeah, well, on this version, you can still do the Greek allies, so you could have 4 downgraded, mediocre hoplites. So they'd be like 6 each for 4 of those. Then you start adding in a load of javelin men, a load of bowmen. You already got some of the mediocre stuff, but you can also do your Lydians, heavy spear mediocre. So it's like, I don't know, it's because you've, I think it was Adam maybe, it's like he was saying on the previous list, it's like, well, where's the punch point? You don't really have a lot of punch points, because the heavy cavalry bow elite doesn't have impact, so you've got to try and draw them down with shooting. So this is basically a shooting army. So either you're doing the shooting army and then you've got the war wagons to absorb. The other way is you start using the heavy spear to sort of like absorb a lot of punishment while you overwhelm them going through the edges.
Yes, if you look at the army list for the Achaemenid Persians, they don't get any impact cavalry. So even if you go for the Greek ally, which is an internal ally, you get a bunch of medium cavalry, which you can downgrade to mediocre, and some heavy spearmen. So looks like to be the later one, later Achaemenid Persian, where you get heavy cavalry impact. You can get the light cavalry bow elite, Scythe chariots again. You can get a lot of the mediocre troops that you were talking about. Plus, you can get the Lycian allies and the Saka allies as well. So, but yeah, with the army choice of it is a bow shooting army, I thought getting almost 3/4 of the army as being bow or armed with a bow and be able to shoot. Andy and I were able to dish out a heck of a lot of firepower. There were, most of the army walked off with markers on it.
Can I ask, and this is a less facetious question than my one about the line of knights or elephants, how do you think, and this is a genuine question for knowledge actually, how do you think either of these armies would do against an historical matchup of a hoplite army if you were sort of like sat opposite someone that had a load of spear? How do you reckon that would work?
If you'd work the flanks with the cavalry command.
Okay.
But that's the first thing you do. If you're going to fight a Greek hoplite army, you're going to outnumber them in cavalry, in quality of cavalry, and you get work onto one flank, and then you go forward with the bowmen. If they come forward in the middle, they're coming onto a more powerful force on their flank. That would be how I would see it, anyway.
Yeah.
I think if the Greek spearmen had, if the Greeks had some good terrain, like a waterway to anchor a flank on, they could storm their spearmen right down the table and come right up to you. Being that most of the Achaemenid, their foot are mediocre because they're mixed units. once you get the spear into it, it's going to be very painful for the Achaemenid. So it's all about those 2 to 3 turns coming in. If you can get enough shooting in to drop the spearman coming in.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can find, but Simon, if you can find a field to put your medium swordsman in, then that's going to make things very difficult for the for the hoplites, because they're going to get seriously downgraded. You're not going to be fighting any worse, and meanwhile you can still shoot out with full effectiveness. So you could, in fact, if there's a field, you can make a bastion where no sensible hoplite spear army is going to want to come near.
You just go straight over them. Send the heavy infantry into the field.
Well,
Okay,
spearmen are down 2.
Yeah, you've just
they're now at -1. Your swordsman is at 1 mediocre. I'll take those odds any day.
I've come to believe that the fear of terrain for heavy infantry is a mistake. But I agree. I think against a proper Greek army, you can the Greeks can, if you go for the early Greeks, they can be heavy infantry, spear, armor.
Well, there can't be that many of them, can there?
Which gives them
because they're 10 points a pop.
Yeah,
but a lot of the Greek ones, you can get some pretty decent medium units.
Yeah.
Well, you can take a lot of javelin. If I'm going to play a Greek army, I would take the Phocian ally with the heavy artillery and have 2 commands on either flank with heavy infantry with armour and things. And I'd take quite a few of the javelin men to use in terrain and things. I've been looking. I mean, basically, you don't see Greek hoplite armies because spear get a very heavy bad deal in wargaming. And I think there is a way of using it, but it's to be. I think
so who won then?
Who do you think won?
I'll say Andy.
Ask who won. I think we should say.
Okay, before we say who won, which of those armies would you, if you had to choose between using one of those armies, which one would you choose?
Show me Andy's again. Oh, tough decision.
Because I've got a strategist.
I'd say Andy's because it's legal.
I'd go for Andy.
Are you saying that Simon's isn't legal? Is that because he hasn't got Cyrus as a strategist?
We're not clear whether we needed Cyrus as a strategist.
No, you don't.
Right, okay, then it's legal.
If you
in the interest of playing the game, we thought, well, let's assume that's a detachment from his army, but yeah.
If not, or
it's just Cyrus on a bad day.
Yeah.
Because not every general who would be ranked as a strategist performed consistently. Like
fair enough. He could have been suffering from piles like Napoleon or something. Yeah. Yeah.
Who won that? Alexander with a hangover.
Right. So Tamsin, who do you think? Which army would have you chosen then?
The sound of a bottle of beer opening.
Simon's got the 2 side chariots. They're fun. Yeah, I'd probably go with Simon's.
Okay. And Adam?
Well, to be perfectly honest, gentlemen, it's early on today. I played tennis for about an hour and a half for the first time since the lockdown. And my body is really, really aching. It's just like, it really hurts. I've been using muscles that just haven't been used.
Well, try your brain muscle. You probably weren't using that for tennis.
Well, no, because I've been sat here and I've been sort of like going blah, blah, blah. I'm drinking beer, but I haven't really been following or paying attention or thinking about it.
Roll the dice or something. Let's come make a decision now.
I would go... I don't, because like 2 cyber chariots are cool, but they're in different commands. So I would go with I don't know.
Get off the fence.
All right, show me the other army then. Let's actually take this seriously. Show me the other army.
This is Andy's.
I would go with Simon's because not all the shooty Sparrow Barrow and Mortals in the same command, so they can be in different places or the same place. Depending on what you want, whereas Andy's put them all together, so it's a lot harder.
No, I've got an LMI. I've got at least 1 LMI bow unit in each command.
I don't care.
Oh, fair enough. I was just correcting your illusions. That's all.
No, the Immortals and Sparrow Barrow are very good troops, but just that ability to put them together or split them up as needed is what I'm making that decision on. And I'm not saying it's a great decision.
No, fair enough. Okay, we asked you to make a decision. You've done it right. Well. Simon, tell them who won.
So we had a stonking battle yesterday, and
Construction.
no, it was a very convincing win to me.
Hey.
So both lines met up in an almighty clash of violence. We both Andy's and my heavy cavalry wings deployed pretty much opposite each other. My Sparabara command was opposite his, and then his little command had to deal with my 2 war wagons and the bowmen. You could see the poor swordsman look at it and go, "I'm not going anywhere near that." So the flanks sort of just annoyed each other. Scythe chariots were released and weren't particularly effective, but they were annoying enough just to have fun. And then when my heavy cavalry line advanced, managed to get a couple of cheeky shots and knock out most of Andy's light horse on the flank, then the line went in with the light horse's camel over support, or support on the flanks. Andy's mounted command started dropping rather quickly. Then between both of us, we were having mounted charging each other in the flanks and all that. It was quite violent.
I think you definitely had you definitely had more luck in the early shooting, and I think that made a difference. I mean, I was overdue a kicking from the dice gods anyway, due to some recent games I've had. But you definitely had, by about the end of the first or second turn, I had about 3 or 4 guys wounded, and you'd won, I think.
Yeah, I think your command pips were quite spectacular. I think in one of your commands,
they were bad to begin with.
You didn't roll higher than a 1 for the first 4 commands, so I was quite appreciative of that.
This means war.
Right, so welcome back. I can see Mr. Saunders has got more beer. What is it this week?
Usual Hefeweizen beer, wie Hefensteffener.
On the Badger.
Sorry, Adam's moved up to the one powers of the gold hobgoblin beer.
Very nice it is too.
Tams and Andy and I are on the whiskey.
Oscar Storm.
So I'm guessing, Peter, you must be on the soy skinny latte.
Yes.
I'm not promoting any companies like that. Right. So this time, since Tim's not here for me to call me in, here is the go to random.org to pull up the list for next week. Well, hey,
list effects courtesy of Adam.
List 234. French ordnance.
Oh, nice one.
True classic.
Who wants to go for some pure, good-fashioned French heavy metal?
Well, we need 2 people who haven't had to go for a while.
Whose turn is it?
Adam?
Yours, Dave.
I went last week. I'm happy to do French ordnance. I went last week.
I think that means it's
an army I've got, so I'm happy to do it.
I would say Peter should go because there's bloody knights involved, and we've got to get that bugbear out.
It's just so. I know, but
Peter one because it's got knights in it.
All right.
I think Adam should do the other one because Adam used this in Bournemouth, and Adam's got some use of this.
Yeah. Adam and I had a really good game in Bournemouth, the competition. Remember that? We were first and second at the time, and you narrowly won that game, and it was a cracking game.
I do, yeah. No, it was good. I enjoyed that competition.
Yeah.
Overall, but
Adam, I know you went
fun army to use.
Do it again.
Yeah, I was using that as well. Yeah.
Excellent. So we've got next week we'll be talking about the French ordnance and how many different ways you can carve up that army.
Yeah.
So I think everyone has their own different view of how many Swiss knights, longbow, bow combinations you can get into that army.
Tin openers, whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I was actually using a Swiss ordnance army last week against a very nice American chap called David Ray, and he was using Hungarians. This is on Tabletop Simulator. And I had 20 units and he had 24. So, 24. And I beat him. I lost 8 points in total.
Wow. Well done.
And also, part of it was the fact I chose to defend and I managed to get the terrain largely where I wanted it. I had a field on the right-hand sector and a hill in the middle. And on the hill in the middle, I put my Italian condottieri allied command. And on the right-hand side, I had my foot command, which was 2 longbows, a mediocre crossbow, a Swiss pikeman and 2 halberdiers and a light infantry bow. And the enemy didn't want to come anywhere near with being Hungarians, mostly the guys were on horses. They didn't want to get stuck into anything near the infantry. And in fact, my infantry chased off the guys that came up near them and shot them to death.
So you'd say that the use of terrain in ADLG really makes an effect then?
It did have an effect. I found it very useful, yeah. And I don't think my opponent did himself justice in the game, because he brought up this skirmish screens to start shooting at my condottieri in the middle, but he didn't have the heavy knights behind them close enough. So it meant that I could cut in behind his skirmishing light cavalry and then squash them with knights. And since they were on the lower bit of the hill and I was coming downhill with impact knights into light cavalry bow, that didn't go too well for him.
So I know several of us around the table played a fair few tournaments between us. Simon, what's your sort of like key thing for using terrain?
It depends on the style of army that I'm using. If it's an army, like say either an elephant army or a big medieval army where you don't have the fluid mounted to run around, trying to get either the waterway, a gentle hill with some bad terrain on top of it, or if you can, a village. Really helpful to lock one flank down if you can, because that gives you something to anchor on. Because otherwise, if you have a small medieval army and someone can get into one of your flanks, it can really cause some havoc in your army. So if I can, lock down a bit of terrain and then try to wheel or anchor on that point and swing around to really try to push off the army or at least get things in the right place.
How about you, Dave? Do you normally put a fair bit of thought into your terrain, don't you?
Terrain's a massive question, and I think we're all playing a lot of competition games, and I think one of the difficulties with any sort of competition set of rules like we play is that it's a whole subject. Learning how to use terrain itself takes a couple of years probably to understand completely. So I think there's different styles. I think one of the big issues with what we play in ADLG is if very often people are going to use plains as the terrain choice, which is the sort of agricultural sort of thing. And in that you've got the one hill. So quite often it's who gets the hill on their side of the table. Do they put a field on it? So if you're using an Ottoman army or you're using an Achaemenid army, as we've talked about in recent weeks, if you can get a gentle hill in the middle of the table and get a field on top of it and occupy it with immortals or janissaries who are elite bowmen, then you're more or less winning the game from the very start. The other thing is, if you're using knight armies, you've got to create a clear space for your knights to run through. And I think there's a whole subject in itself about using elephants and fields.
Yeah.
We actually sit there and talk about giving yourself an elephant runway. So if you can get a load of fields in the centre of the table, you can just run your elephant straight down the middle in what we call a Death Star, which is an elephant supported by medium infantry. Then you're on a winner there. So terrain's vital.
The thing that, speaking to several players and the way I look at it myself, is that the terrain is basically another part, as you were saying, Dave, because of the tournaments, it's another part of your army in itself. So first thing is you've got to have a plan. For the army that you're using, you need to have a plan and what you'd want to use and not use and why. You mentioned a few of them, Dave, where, if you've got shooty cav, you don't want that much terrain. If you've got different types, you want to reduce it down. But that's just one aspect. Then it's like, well, what's your opponent bringing? What are they turning up with? And how you might want to mitigate that depending on their list. So you have different armies within certain periods that you're expecting and who you're up against. If it's going to be a camel army up against, don't put a load of brush down because it's perfect for them. So there's that mitigation factor. So, if you think the opposition is going to turn up with elephants, you end up putting, plantations on a hill sort of thing, just to really mess them up because, the elephants suddenly have a problem with that. Certain elements like that you start thinking about, and you get used to different things. And then it's some people actually then build on using the terrain as a tactical advantage by then having the strategist, but opting to defend. Because if you're defending, you know the terrain that you definitely can choose from. And then you can actually then deploy a fair few ambushes, so you can actually have certain surprises, because people don't have the ability to, say, dismount against elephants if they're all hidden, for example. So you can start getting quite complex with it, but it all starts with a basic plan. If you've got a basic plan to build around, you can really cause some havoc. I've had some cracking games against some people. Iñaki is a great one. I was doing really well at Reading, got to the final table, up against Iñaki. He's got a knight army. I've got a shooty bow cav. He managed to get some great big terrain down, impassable mountains, and narrowed down the terrain to basically a 2-foot lie, even though he had one ally go unreliable. There was nothing I could do. It was my shooty cav against his knights, which didn't turn out well. So, you start off with the plan, how you're going to use your army, what bases you can do around it, and then if you don't get the terrain, what you're going to do apart from just charge forward.
Definitely agree.
Yeah, you got to build flexibility in your plans, because A, you don't know what the terrain is going to end up as, and B, you don't know what your opponent's going to have in their army. So, you want something that's a bit more than a one-trick pony in terms of the strategy and the terrain. But
I often find that I have a plan for the terrain and a hope of the terrain, and it all goes wrong as soon as the terrain appears on the table, which I find really annoying. But there you go.
Any plan that's based around terrain is almost by definition a bad plan.
Yeah.
Because there are going to be games where you don't get the terrain you want. The only pass I would give on that is step-based armies, where they've got a strategist and they're going in with a sort of like an initiative of 5 or 6. You can sort of like, you should be able to get more or less the terrain that we want. But usually any plan of, I need this terrain to make this army work, is a bad plan.
Yeah.
The other thing I would also say about terrain, and this is something I've seen quite often against people that are sort of like middling players, they have the idea of a rough terrain command or rough terrain troops, and they see rough terrain and they get it and they jump in it, and their rough terrain troops are in the rough terrain. And quite often it's a case of, well done, you've put 80 points of your army in that piece of terrain. What are you going to do with it? And with people that are still learning, the answer is, I'm going to sit in it and hold it because that's my rough terrain troops. And it's like, well, you need to, that's only step 1 of a good plan. Step 2 is you get the terrain, then how are you going to develop, what are you going to do from there? So that's the important bit. Even if you get the terrain you want, even if you dominate
not the end
terrain,
in itself.
Yeah, even if you dominate that terrain, how are you going to leverage that to make your army win? Which is the tricky bit, but that's the bit that you've got to be able to answer in your head. I will leverage it by, and if you can't finish that sentence, you're probably on a hiding to nothing.
You see, if people do that, it's just hilarious, because then you just tie them down by having some sort of either heavy cavalry or my favourite medium knight. You sit there and stare at them just outside of their range, trying to provoke them to come out. And if you do step out, you stomp on them. But well, if they all swarmed out and took your 1 or 2 knights on, they'd take them down. But they just have this fear. They look at you can see them looking at the stat sheet and go, ooh, knight versus medium infantry, I'm going to get stomped. And you're like, fine, okay, so I've got, say, 20 points. You've tied up, say, your 70 or 80. Meanwhile, I'm stomping the rest of their army.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a bad idea, because if it's a case of you can force your opponent to have to try and advance past that terrain and expose flanks, for instance, that's a good plan. Or you're using that terrain to advance to get past the enemy's flanks on you. There is positives to it, but you've got to be able to answer that question.
Yeah, Dave Saunders and I, we were playing a competition up in Burton this year. I think it was our last competition of the year, it was the doubles competition. So it was Richard and Dave, Kevin and myself were on the top table, and the two armies were having a squabble. And Dave and Richard got this one bit of terrain right in the key place where they were able to put in a couple of medium foot in there or something like that. And it just anchored the table just enough so that it stopped us advancing too far into their table side to get into them, because we knew as soon as we crossed that magic line, that medium swordsman or bowman who wasn't really going to do much against 18 or so cavalry was able to turn the flank and just come right down the side. So it was when the terrain worked, it worked quite nicely, but it did slow our army down for quite a while until Dave managed to break my flank and then shoot us to pieces.
It sounds a bit like the experience that Ian and I had against Dave and Richard at Burton.
It's good to see us.
My experience with terrain is that whenever I need some terrain on my side of the table, I never get it. I might think back a couple of years. You might remember the club had a biblical era.
B4 AD, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I had Nubians, so I needed terrain. I think in one game out of 5, I got a piece of terrain on my side of the table, and it was a gentle hill with no cover.
Oh. Ow, 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 ow.
I had fun in one.
But the problem with your army was that it was Nubians.
Yes, well, besides that,
That's enough to take
me as its commander.
That isn't, they say there's no dark armies in ADLG. Well, I think Nubians come fairly close.
And probably early Libyan.
I had fun at what's the one at the tournament at the school near Milton Keynes.
Roll call?
Yeah. There was a sort of like biblical sort of ancient one there, and or feudal, I can't remember which, but I basically turned it with a camel army, and therefore everyone was freaked out by it and didn't want to put brush down and everything else. And yeah, so but I had the choice to dismount. So basically, I ended up just dismounting. So instead of impetuous camels, I ended up with medium impact foot with spear, which consequently wiped out almost every army that it went up against, because I was just able to dismount, because they were building the terrain and everything else structured around a load of camels charging in, and I just had a load of medium foot charging instead.
There are certain armies which are designed for being, there's sort of, you can use Frankish and some of the impetuous heavy cavalry armies in the Dark Ages, where they can dismount as an alternative against certain things. It means you've almost got 2 armies in one.
Yeah, which is perfect when you're going up against, say, elephants or something, because it's just absolutely hilarious. They think you've got your sorted, that the elephants are going to stomp in. All of a sudden, you've got a load of impact medium foot that are just going to go straight through their side commands.
Well, it's kind of spoiler alert, but that's one reason I like the Condottieri ally for the Ordnance French, because if you come up against a foot army, the Condottieri knights can get off their horses and fight as heavy foot. And if you come up against a bunch of knights, they can stay on their horses and fight as mounted. So you've got a lot of flexibility there.
Fantastic.
Right, so that's a quick introduction into how to use ADLG terrain. I'm sure we could do
a whole subject in itself.
I'm sure we could do a 4-hour podcast special on this.
Yeah,
but,
I think we could sit there and get into some serious discussions certain armies.
And we haven't even mentioned gullies yet.
Oh, definitely gullies.
Elephants love.
This means war.
Time now, coming up for Andy's quiz and our favorite music.
Question, comment les voir? Question, le trou est sans fond. Question, la légende le dit. Question, elle dit aussi. Question, c'est une maladie. Question.
Before we do quiz, I've got to say, I've actually downloaded that piece of music, and now that's my party music. You know what I mean? If it's with kids, musical chairs, I'm using that. If it's with grown-ups, when I want people to leave, that's going on. It's just like really, really handy party music.
Okay, so note to self: whenever we finally get down to Bournemouth and with Adam, he starts playing that music. It's time to leave.
Time to leave. Yeah. Or better still, not leave. That'll really annoy him. Right, are you ready for the quiz, guys?
We'll just wait for Dave to come back.
Yeah. I'm just
much beer can one man drink?
bloody wet palate.
No, don't drink the paint, Dave. It's not good for you.
Yeah, it's just annoying me.
It's all right. It's acrylic.
Oh, that's all right then.
Right, Andy, over to you.
Okay, last week the quiz was called Mad Men, and I asked, who are the following 3 odd fellows? Number 1, the king who joined the First Crusade by sailing to the Middle East, helping to capture Acre with his fleet, sailing back to Constantinople and then home overland. He later went mad, imagining that there were fish swimming in his bathtub, and according to the author Dan Jones, quote, was prone to descend into bouts of manic cackling, which rendered him helpless. Anyone know who that was?
Not Frederick.
That's a clue.
Sounds like Dave on a night out.
Yeah.
No, we did think it was members of the Central London Club, but we did remind you guys there are libel laws. So
Clive the First?
No, it wasn't actually. No, his name was Sigurd the First of Norway.
Never heard of him.
Well, you have now.
Zigga.
Sigurd, Sigurd.
I'll have to check him out, actually.
Yeah, okay. Read Dan Jones' books, Crusaders. It's quite good. Right, the second one is, some of you probably know this one, the Napoleonic commander who used to chew garlic, rub gin on his chest, fought a battle 2 days after being unhorsed in another battle at the age of 80, and suffered delusions that a French Imperial Guard grenadier had made him pregnant and that he was going to give birth to an elephant.
Lucia.
That's the one?
I knew all that, but apart from the pregnancy thing.
Yeah, he had his delusions.
Oh, yeah. He's fantastic. You start reading some stuff, he's an absolute loon. He's fantastic.
That's the bloke you want in charge of your army.
You want to take Bleacher with you, don't you?
Yeah. It's like, you know what he's going to do. He's just going to charge him. Forget it. Bit of garlic. Yeah.
But he also had a very pragmatic attitude to some things. In 1814, when the Allies fought in a place called Langres, which is the watershed of France, and the French were driven off, Marshal Schwarzenberg said, "We got to garrison this place. It's the watershed of France." And Blucher said, "The only significance of this place is if I stand here and take a pee, half of it goes into the Mediterranean and half goes into the Atlantic."
Right.
So the third guy who we want to know about was the Confederate general who was a young infantry company commander engaged in a furious exchange of correspondence regarding the supply of uniforms to his company with the quartermaster of the fort, and he was the quartermaster. Later, during the Mexican-American War of 1847, his own troops tried to assassinate him by exploding a 12-pound artillery shell under his cot. The cot was destroyed, but he survived unscathed. And during the Civil War, his subordinate generals disliked him so much that they signed a round-robin letter asking President Jefferson Davis to remove him from command of their army.
I should know this, but I can't.
Was that a Hood? Because everybody thought he was a right knob.
No.
Okay.
Braxton Bragg.
Bragg, yeah.
Yeah. I think if they put a statue up to him, the rebels would have blown it up. Never mind waiting till now. But anyway, that was last week's questions.
Question, comment les voir? Question, le trou est sans fond. Question, la légende le dit. Question, elle dit aussi. Question, c'est une maladie. Question.
This week's questions is called Maids of Honor, and it's all about ladies of distinction. Number 1. This lady was appointed as a warrant officer by General George Washington after the Battle of Monmouth Courthouse in 1777, where she reportedly served as a crew member on American artillery after her husband was incapacitated. During the battle, a cannonball passed between her legs, removing the lower part of her skirt, to which she observed, "That could have been worse." And Monmouth Courthouse is also an interesting battle in the sense that it was the hottest day ever recorded in the USA at that time, and more troops died of heat stroke than of battle damage and shot and shell.
Oh dear.
Right. So that's the first one. The second lady I want to know about is, armed with a pitchfork, this Welsh lady led a group of women who captured 12 drunk French soldiers who were part of the force which invaded Fishguard in 1797.
Well, that does sound like a few nights we've had in Cardiff Central after our wargaming competition.
Or that night in Abergavenny. No, in fact, that was when, Adam, you remember that, the crazy woman with the parrots.
Oh, she was brilliant. Coming down from the valleys, a gagging and a dripping. Oh,
Yeah, that's one of the funniest stories ever. That was.
So Mad Welsh Women is a tradition then. Right, okay. And the third one I want to know about is, this Jewish widow became matron of the Chimborazo Military Hospital in Richmond, Virginia, during the American Civil War, and improved the recovery rate of patients by putting chicken soup on the menu.
So that's So that's down to Jewish penicillin.
That's it. Chicken soup cure most things. Don't think it cures a broken, shot off leg, but it's good for most other things. Right, so those are the three I wanted to know about this week, and I'll tell you next week if you don't know the answer in the meantime.
Question, comment les voir? Question, le trou est sans fond. Question, la légende le dit. Question, elle dit aussi. Question, c'est une maladie. Question.
Right, so we're coming to the tail end of the podcast after almost 2 hours of fun and excitement and games.
We still run over 2 hours.
Give us if we talked a little bit more about terrain, I'm sure we could get 4 hours into it easily. So, Tamsin, what's on your painting table for next week?
Right now, nothing, but as of tomorrow, probably I use some more scatter terrain for Judge Dredd. Things like Jersey barriers, T-walls, things like that.
Adam.
I am starting my 28mm Romans. I'm doing using Victrix. I'm doing Roman auxiliaries, 24 of them. It's a little bit exciting. I'm just sticking them together now. It might be a slow process. But the thing that I'm interested to see is they recommend undercoating in the main colour that you're going to paint, because you don't have to paint it, the army painter thing. Yep. And it's like, okay then, I'll take your word. So I'm going to undercoat in gunmetal, because there's lots of chainmail going on, so that's the chain painted. Fine, brilliant, done deal. But I'm just a bit worried about painting on top of it. How does flesh, you know what I mean, go on top of?
It does quite well.
Gunmetal's all right.
Depends on the paints. If you're worried, I go over the non-metal areas with something like a brown first.
Yeah, I know, but then that just sort of like that's sort of like the whole idea is to not have to do that. So I'm genuinely interested to see how that works out.
There's a whole subject there of how do you paint chainmail, doesn't there? Because for me, I would always paint what I've learned from, I think this is one of the first things you, as a war gamer, when you buy your first armies, painting the mail and things like that, what I've learned is undercoat it black and then dry brush gunmetal over it, so that pulls out the mail.
Oh, absolutely, and that's my standard technique. That's what I've done for you.
Do that.
But so I'm going with that. I'm going all in on this. What army painters say they can make it work.
I
can believe if you do it gunmetal and put the dark tone in, and that will sort of like go into the holes. So
it does.
I've
done it, and it works quite nicely. If you just wanted to do a big batch and you just want to get it done, you get the spray out, get it sprayed. The skin tone goes on all right. Some of the first Romans I did 8mm plastic Romans, and you just give them a good spray. The skin tone goes on all right over it, because it's still quite thin, the metallic and everything else. It doesn't show through because it's quite nice matte and gives it a base on it. And use the dark tone afterwards, because it picks up the chainmail quite nicely and deepens out the skin tones. So you get the stuff done pretty damn quickly.
Okay. Thin down with if it's dark tone wash, thin that down before using it.
I'm just wondering, given that Tim's on holiday this week and he said he was going to do up his holiday place, do you think he sprayed some walls with Halford black primer and then throw an army painter on it?
Yes.
What colour army painter would he use? You know, I mean, do you use different colours for different rooms?
He'll be using.
Be using the inks.
It's
Well,
well,
you
no.
would-
To be fair, I think Tim doesn't have to do it. It's like because he's gone to stay in his country estates for a few weeks, so he's got staff to do
Oh, I
things.
see, right.
So I don't think he needs to use the rush job. You know what I mean? I think he's I think he can delegate out.
Oh, so he gets the
They're
butler to
actually
do
in
it.
the war games room in his summer residence.
Or the new isolation centre.
Yeah, exactly.
Peter, what about you for next week?
I'm going to finish off basing my Austrians. I'm going to be getting the whole army painter dark tone out, get the gold splash across, then do the basing, then that's all done. And if I have time, I'm going to start on my Spanish Knights from Navarre. Hey!
What scale are those, Peter?
15 mil. So I'm just going to have a nice Spanish. I've got some of the, how do you pronounce it?
Ginites?
Yeah.
Ginites.
Got some of those and some medieval order knights and some Spanish knights. So they've got slightly different shields compared to the rest of my medieval knights. So I just thought I'd do something with a bit of colour to it, just to make it stand out, because otherwise some of them can just get a bit too generic.
Is this an army that you can have a Moogle vase in?
Yeah.
Yes. Although I haven't had a lot of luck with them, those. I've taken them before and got them stomped. So I think I'd probably only take one or two.
Take them all.
Take two.
Depends. Question of which version, because David and I had a game a few weeks ago, and your version of the army, I think, had two, didn't it? It was a Navarre
It's
army
my
or something?
favourite army. I use the Castilian version.
Or Castilian, right?
And,
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, you can't use the Almogarvars as main battle troops.
Yeah.
What you've got to use them for is things which get round the back of things and get in the flanks, and then are devastating when they do that.
And if anyone wants to be a smart ass and stick some bowmen in the terrain, the Almogarvars are great for going straight through them.
The feudal Spanish and the medieval Spanish are probably my favourite medieval armies. They really are.
Yeah. Peter, you do know there's no elephants in that army?
I do, but there's medieval knights.
Oh, well, I suppose that's compensation, isn't it, really? Yeah.
There is a
Medium knights, plenty of medium knights, and impetuous medium knights, which makes it all so much more fun. You will just
absolutely. I'm with you there. I mean, I think last time I did an Italian Normans in Italy army, I think I managed to get about 11 knights in my army.
There is something to be said about when you deploy those couple of commands of 10 or 11 knights as this wedge, and you go, here's a problem, deal with it, because it's going one way. If I have to turn, I'm in trouble. But just this idea of knights storming across the table, all pretty colours and banners, it does look beautiful. All right, Andy, what about you for your painting next week?
I'm going to be finishing off these Romans and then probably starting on ships of some kind.
Any particular scale ships? 1-to-1
Well,
scale?
it's either the Cruel Sea ones, which I think are about 1 to 700. They're the coastal MTBs and Schnell boats and stuff like that, or it might be the 1-3000 Italian fleet. One thing I like about Italian ships in World War II, they've got on the front of them red and white striped barber pole stripes to the front, simply because it was to stop the Italian Navy bombing their own ships.
It does look cool as well. That barber pole thing does look kind of.
Yeah, you expect to see a few guys out there singing songs and things, but it was basically to stop the Italian Navy, because luckily the Italian Navy never actually hit anything, but the Italian Navy got fed up of being bombed by its own aircraft.
Yeah, and the Cruel Seas.
It got bombed by the Royal Air Force.
Yeah, well, that was different. You can't really help that, but it was the Italian. I think the Italian Air Force took the view that, well, if we see any ships, they're bound to be the enemy, so we'll bomb them.
And Mr. Saunders, any more samurai?
There's a few little bases of samurai to finish up. I think I'm cracking the back of this Ottoman army, really. So they're all finished. So I've got no complete army projects left. That's the point here. So
I'm sure your chariots will arrive.
Yeah, that's true. There's plenty of bits and pieces I can do. I mean, I've got a couple of bases of impetuous monks to do for the samurai.
They're good fun.
chariots, as Andy says, the chariots, the next big project, because that's going to be a bit of a mission painting them up. There's a few camels left. There's a few Scythian heavy cavalry without armoured horses need painting, things like that. And it's going to be interesting to see if or when the War and Empire Forged in Battle Order ever happens, because I know they're finishing their Kickstarter, and that's the finality of their Kickstarter. So there's going to be a massive orders there, so that's going to be funky.
I can just imagine this pallet delivery coming into Saunders flat, two guys lifting it up the stairs and all that.
When we were in Greece, I think the Greeks were ordering 1,000+ pounds worth of figures from them.
Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've done 150, another 150, another 80. So that's been a really good project of theirs. I mean, the quicker they go on to their next stage, which I guess is going to have to be medieval.
Feudal, probably. Yeah.
I mean, I'd love it to be biblical, but I can't see it because biblical doesn't sell as well. But it's going to be medieval. But,
they'll probably backfill to do some biblical eventually.
But it's made me keep an eye on Kickstarter, I think.
Well, these guys are War and Empire, the ones I'm painting. They're nice figures. Also, the pike. What I liked about the Seleucid pikemen is I managed to get 12 of them on a 40 square base.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and in 3 ranks of 4.
3 ranks of 4 is what you need on a.
Yeah, but I didn't have to kind of fudge it in sort of 4, 3, 4 or anything like that. It was I got 4 guys in each rank.
Oh,
I managed that with Zyston ones. They go on there just about.
Anything else for you, Dave?
So just the Ottomans we've done. War and Empire Order is going to take forever. Chariots, I think it's going to be going through the back drawers of seeing what there's some camps might need doing, things like that. Oh, that's the other thing I've got. I've got a whole load of magnets. Loads of magnets. War bases are open again. So I've got for new bases from war bases. I'm going to start to think about using small magnets for the whole army next time. Ooh. So that's the next one.
You could, as long as it didn't get too dusty, you could then base an army on the side of a Bisley cabinet. You wouldn't then need to buy another one quite so quickly.
That's true. You could magnetise an entire army to the size of the cabinet. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
You'd probably get 2 down each side, actually.
Yeah. You could actually sort of. I could just put all the light foot into one drawer and use the magnets on the side. Yeah.
I can just see the footage of that drawer being opened.
It really has reached a point where I have completely run out of Bisley drawers.
You just open the drawer, it looked like something out of World War Z movie, where the bodies are just piled up.
Something out of,
trying to get out the wall.
Is it Inception, where the world folds on itself?
Yes. So for me, on my table, I'm hoping this week I can get my complete, nothing to do with 15mm. I've got the 1 to 300mm modern British Army that I stripped back all the bad paint job. So I'm hopefully I can paint all their tanks and APCs up. They stripped off really well.
This is the Toothbrush Army, yeah?
This will be the Toothbrush Army. So lots of aerials and things like that. But the paint strip I used, that bio strip that I've talked about a couple of times, took all the paint job off completely. So even got down to all the detail of the bogies and the tracks. They've all come back up again. So that should be good to paint up. And for something different, I'm going to see if I can paint up I've got a few spare Renaissance figures for ADLG R. So I'm hoping to paint up a couple of 30 years war Swedish salvo guys. So the pike and shot with a regimental gun, a couple of generals, drummers and all that, to make a couple of the nice iconic Swedish units. Because
that's about all you can probably afford in the point system, isn't it? I should think.
Yeah, there's not too many of them, but they are a nice looking figure.
Yeah.
So, or a nice unit. So put a few banners and all that. Sorry.
A nice formation.
Yeah, they look really proper. So and I managed to get from QRF. They had some regimental guns. They had these ones called the Swedish leather guns, which are apparently the right
feathers. What are they called?
Leather guns.
Leather guns. Yeah.
Leathers. Right, okay.
It was leather tube rather than hardened leather tube rather than metal.
Oh, okay.
They were a ban. They gave up on those fairly quickly.
Just exploded.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, I'm painting mine with brass tubes just because it makes them a little bit more obvious what they are.
This means war. This means war.
Has anyone got any games lined up for next week or anything exciting like that?
I'm playing, taking my son on, funnily enough, trying out my feudal Spanish, and he's decided to take a Viking army because he likes the
that's
idea
brave.
of trying out heavy infantry.
Nice.
He's going to get murdered.
Is that cost center 1 or cost center 2?
Cost center 2. He's probably, I'll roll all 1s and he'll roll 6s for commands or something like that, which has been the normal thing each time I've played against him, that my command capability somewhat disappears.
Being a father of teenagers, that's quite a common feature. Command ability disappears. Yeah.
Yeah, but plus wouldn't end up being able to afford the dice with teenagers.
I've got a game lined up on Wednesday of ADLG online against my American opponent Dave. He wants to use Nicophorians, but I can't find anything contemporaneous which can usefully fight him in the things I've got, in the ADLG. I think we had a brief chat about this earlier, because I could do Vikings or I could do Saxons, but I don't fancy either of those against Nicophorians.
The Arab armies are the obvious. They're the dynastic Bedouin is the Hammandid army is the one which they really Nicophorians fought.
Yeah, no, I've never actually used any of those armies. So,
or you could take Nicophorians yourself.
Yes, you could have a civil war.
Suppose I could, yeah.
Yeah, they were always attacking each other.
Well, that's right. Yeah, sort of.
Oh, you could take one of the Italian ones because they got betrayed by the Italians. The Venetians turning up and stabbed them in the back, didn't they?
Well, this is a bit earlier than that. You see, I mean, my primary instinct would be, I want to try and fight him ideally with something that's contemporaneous, and they come to an end. Nicophorians come to an end in the year 1071, and the earliest year for the Normans in Italy is 1072.
The natural enemies are the Bulgarians, the Rus,
the Seljuk Turks,
dynastic Bedouin Seljuk Turks.
They're the ones that gave them a hiding at Manzikert, weren't they?
Yeah, well, Manzikert's a bit later, but
I think it's 1071,
isn't it? That's Nicephorus' focus is the sort of reconquest of the empire in parts, but there was plenty of civil wars going on. I agree with that.
I might just take Nicophorians then, because as you say, it's just on the tabletop simulator thing with the armies available. There's nothing which actually looks like an early feudal knight. I'm quite happy to clone one from a different army, but there's nothing that just looks like the part really.
And use the Nicophorian list, model, but take a dynastic Bedouin army, dynastic Arab army.
Is there one in there? I don't remember seeing one, but I wasn't.
Basically, that's a natural enemy for the Nicophorians, and that's a good game because you're playing with Gullums against his cavalry. You've got some bowmen and you've got some figures, and I think if you use the Nicophorian TTS army designer, you can rename the cavalry as Kurdish cavalry.
Oh yeah, I could always rename them. Yeah,
that would work really well.
Yeah, I've not ever tried a dynastic Bedouin or anything like that. So I've never really used much Dark Ages.
Yeah, you could have a bit of fun with that. Some nice Hamads of Aleppo, so you can have some heavy cavalry bow elite.
And also, you've got to use an Arab army without having knights around, which is always good because the Arab armies tend to suffer against knights. So,
I might use some Nicophorians and might call them Seljuk Turks or something and see how that works.
Yeah. I've got a game against Tommy tomorrow. So Tommy from Ireland, he reached out through the Italian wargaming competition, the Let's Play ADLG via Tabletop Simulator while we're all stuck in isolation. So he reached out. So we're having a game tomorrow night.
What are you using?
He's bringing Caroline Frankish, and that's the one, Caroline Frankish. and I was trying to think of something historical to suit. And what I was thinking to bring was maybe either feudal Spanish without the knights, so go the early one,
Yeah.
or possibly because he's gone Carolingian Frankish. I was thinking I might bring Merovingian Frankish, just for a bit of a grandson squabble to see who has the better army. Either that or Lombards, just because the idea of mass heavy cavalry impetuous with no command and mediocre bow and various other crazy options. So that seemed like
I think
something
that's
fun.
a good idea, because you're going to be teaching Tommy how to use this a lot. So I think you need something simple to get a quick, hard, tough game. I think using one of the impetuous armies of that period, which would be historical, because the Carolingians were the more sophisticated.
Do the feudal Spanish because the early ones, you can have lots of heavy cavalry impetuous and just do a great big charge of those. But you can also then spice it up with a bit of spearmen and bowmen.
Yeah, I was thinking that because that then allows Tommy to see some of the different troop types on the table. I mean, I know he's played it in real life, but just have quite a few different options of the heavy spearmen, javelin, bowman, light foot. Could even bring a fortified camp just because it's a pretty model. So
it's just finding the palette to do these things, which I'm finding challenging. That there's a lot of armies that are very sort of same, but they're out of period, so you don't get stuff that between about 500 and 1200. There's not actually a lot of stuff that's already on there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think we're complaining, because the Italians have done an amazing job of actually creating it.
Oh, what they've done, the stuff they've done is lovely. Yeah,
It's extraordinary what they've done.
Yeah.
So full marks to them.
Yeah, what Massimiliano and Ollie have done with all their models they've generated, they are phenomenal. So whenever
Ollie's
we
done
meet
some
them,
foot Normans. Hopefully, if he does some mounted Normans, that would be really good.
Yeah, I can see whenever we finally get to meet up with them, they might be bought just a few beers on the first time. So
absolutely, yeah.
Right. Well, that wraps up another week of podcasting. Goodbye, see you everyone, and be safe. And we'll talk to you next week.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Simon. Well done.
Well done, Simon. Well done, Simon.
Hopefully, Tim's enjoying his new house and a bit of quiet time away from us in London. It's a nice new place, somewhere different to look at.
And he's getting his eyes tested. That's why he's gone.
Yeah.
I can imagine he's gone down with one small suitcase with clothing and a massive transport case of paints, miniatures, and flocking bits.
Yeah, Judy would really allow
that. Or what he's done is he's had all of his orders pre-shipped to the other house, just as they happen to have arrived here by accident. So while I'm here. Stop recording.